since you're back, that must mean you have all of your guides completed. If not, you need to go back and recheck the other video. The last thing that we need to do now before creating our template is to mark the fold lines. We can see them very clearly here because we are looking at all of the artboards set up, and the line that we see dividing is the dividing lines for the artboard. But remember, when we send this to the printer, we're going to use the inside and outside artboards, and those are not going to have those lines available for anybody. So we have to put in printing guides for the fold marks. So that's what we're going to create next. If your rulers are not visible, go up to View and Show Your Rulers. We want to make sure that you have the artboard rulers. So if it says Change to Global Rulers, we're in good shape. The next thing we want to do is make the outside artboard active. And I'm going to actually pull that down just a little bit so we can see it. With the outside artboard active, we're going to pick up the line segment tool. And you want to make a line that is vertical. You can hold down your shift key to constrain it. And we want it to be a 1/2 inch long. Gone too far. There it is, 1/2 inch line. We want this to be the default stroke color. We don't need a fill on it. Then make your stroke a 1-point line. We need to position this now over the outside artboard. Okay, so what you're going to do now is use your transform panel or use whatever is in the control panel if that's available. Set the center point on the top for your reference point, and you're going to position this first guide. Remember, this panel was the narrow one, so our X position is going to be 3.875, and you can tab over, and our Y position is going to be a negative 1/2 inch. Now, why the negative? That's because we're using the top point as our reference, and we don't want this to print anywhere but on our bleed. The reason is because the fold will be marked prior to cutting the bleed off. So that's our first point. We're going to double click our selection tool to give us our move tool. And now we're going to make a copy of this. Remember, these panels are 4 inches wide. So we're going to place the position on this at moving 4 inches over. We want it to go perfectly straight, so our line vertical is 0. And we can preview this and see this, and we're going to say copy, and we have 2 lines. Select both of these lines, and now I have to backtrack just a little bit because I forgot to change this to a dashed line. Fold lines are indicated by dashed lines. So we need to open up our stroke panel. If you only see the weight of the stroke, you need to go in and show options and select dashed line. We want a 3-point dash. Now this is something that's going to repeat, so we put in a 3 points for the dash and 3 points for the gap, and that's going to repeat for the length of the line. Now that we have this line set, we have both of them selected. We want to duplicate these at the bottom of our artboard. So let me zoom out a little bit so that we can see the bottom. And again, we're going to double click on the move tool, and this time we don't want it to move horizontally, we just want it to move vertically. Now remember, we've got that extra 1/2 inch to deal with, so our vertical move is going to be 9.5 inches, and we can view this with the preview and by hitting tab, and you'll see that it lines up perfectly. And again, copy, don't duplicate. Well, now that we have both of these set, we want to make another duplication. So, because we need to set this on the lower artboard. So we're going to select all 4 of these by doing a Control A, or go to Select and select all. And we're going to duplicate this by clicking on one of those lines, holding down your Alt key, and you're going to drag to duplicate. And it doesn't matter right now where you are going to set this down. Don't click off anywhere to deselect. What we're going to do next is back in your artboard panel, we are going to select the inside center artboard. We're going to change our proxy point up in the top to the outside left-hand proxy, and we're going to change our X position to 0. Let's tab that to make sure that goes. And we need to change our Y position to, remember, minus a half an inch. And let's tab that. And now we can see that those lined up. And I can also tell now that I didn't make quite a difference of an inch between my artboards. But now I have my fold lines, and I can go to File, save what I've done. Now go to your Layers panel. And if you expand your Layers panel, you should see that there are the lines and some rectangles in there. We're going to rename Layer 1 Guides and Marks. And then we're going to lock that layer so nothing can be changed. Now we're going to save this as a template. We're going to keep this with the same file name, but we're going to change the file type to Illustrator template. It doesn't show up in Windows, but it would in your Mac. It's going to be saved not as an AI file, but as an AIT, which is Adobe Illustrator template. And select Save. We are now going to close the file, and then we'll be able to continue on with stage 2.